And I know, City Manager, you had, oh, he's not here. There you are. You had a presentation, but maybe because of time constraints, we'll start with the discussion and get some questions answered.
We can certainly handle it that way, Mayor Khan. We actually built into the presentation right at the beginning a discussion on the actual transaction to facilitate a council discussion on whether or not you want to continue with the acquisition process. If you permit me maybe 5 minutes.
I think just because of time, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, and I know I have a few questions as well.
Sure.
We'll go in that route and try to speed this process up so we get to where we need to be. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Treseder.
Thank you. I thank you, everybody, for coming here. I want to give our city manager a chance to make the presentation. I know I've got 5 minutes here. I'd like to defer to the city manager to give that presentation in that 5 minutes.
Yes, Councilmember Carroll.
That's not an order, Mayor. You're the chair of the meeting, but I'm ready to speak if Councilmember Treseder is over.
Yeah, when we have time, we'll definitely be able to hear the presentation. But I think it's important to get the discussion going at this time. And with that, Councilmember Carroll?
No, I still have time. My apologies.
Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Chi, could you please tell us a little bit about, I'm not quite, I don't have quite all the details on the purchase and how there was another owner that was involved. Would you mind please answering that question for me?
Yeah, certainly. I can move through that pretty quickly, and I'll try to respect the desires of the council to get to a discussion on the actual acquisition. I think what we wanted to just highlight from the city perspective is community feedback is tantamount and important to everything that we do with the city, and we have been, the last couple of years, the city as an entity, an active partner in trying to solve community issues. A lot of time that's involved actually going out, acquiring land. It's involved developing land to advance the objectives of the City Council. Issues like the asphalt plant, Gateway Preserve, being able to facilitate that land transaction to inure to the benefit of the city and shutting down an asphalt plant, creating more housing and open space was some terrific work that the council engaged, involved a lot of community feedback and input. We recently acquired a gym facility through an innovative process to accelerate the development of our first gym in Irvine. We've been struggling for 30 years to get to that goal. It will be a reality in 2025. We've been taking over our library system. We've engaged in a variety of lease negotiations and land transactions to expand our library system. The council recalls just recently we coordinated a complex land exchange with 5 Point to facilitate the accelerated development of the Canopy, which is the retail shopping center in the Great Park. And then concurrently, we're also advancing the $1 billion Great Park development project. The one I wanted to end on as we move into, Councilmember Treseder, your question on the acquisition. The office building that we recently acquired at 17101 Armstrong, the council recalls, was initially contemplated by the council and the staff as a piece of the system, potentially. But interestingly, we changed course, we changed direction. That's now going to be an office building. And I think the city's intent really is to solve problems via the system for certain issues that exist there, via the acquisition of the properties on Armstrong we're talking about today, to help try to facilitate a solution. And I think what the staff wanted to emphasize is exactly what the council has said. The options for what we do with the property as we move the discussion forward ultimately are wide open. We have some ideas as it relates to a possible bridge housing facility on the site, but it could be a different type of project if that's what the council ultimately determines, and that's what the feedback from the community really is intended to really generate. What we wanted to do, though, as part of this discussion was provide the council with the opportunity to provide staff with direction as it relates to, do you want us to complete the actual transaction of the land right now? We have a deadline with escrow. We have to notify them, and we will be notifying them based on prior council direction at 12/29 that the city intends to move forward with closing escrow, unless we receive direction from the council otherwise. If we do decide to not move forward and cancel the transaction, the city would be forfeiting our $1 million deposit. And we wanted to just share with council some of the transactional details so that you can best make a decision on what's the best pathway forward as we contemplate the options available. The first thing we wanted to note was that the transaction to acquire 17572 and 17622 Armstrong, it was really unique, not a normal transaction. We purchased the property not from the current property owner, but through an intermediary. We purchased it through an entity that has a purchase and sale agreement to buy the property. That intermediary entity is called Pacific Industrial, and we're coordinating concurrent double escrow processes, details of which we've shared with council on a couple of different occasions in closed session during the past few months. That unique transactional structure where the current entity, Pacific Industrial, we're buying the property from them. They have an NDA with the seller, and given the uniqueness of the transaction, we were respecting the disclosure requirements to not talk about our transaction until the purchase consideration a few weeks ago on October 22nd. With regard to buying the property, here's what we've shared previously, wanted to get into more details with the council.
Your time is up.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Carroll?
Great.